Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is the natural definition of sensorality? Emphasizing containment, looking to find some sort of progress our derivation to the point where we find sensorality contained within another linguistic structure. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a sentence, maybe it's a combination of both, maybe it's a logical progression, but some sort of definitive definition, which by definition, definitions are definite. They're finite. And so we need some sort of unique syllability. Our syllables are our irreducible sound associated to meaning of what sensorality is. What is sensorality? It's literally the word sensor with the empirical generalization ality at the end. And then we have two bits of evidence, two pieces. We have the word censor with a C, censorship, and the word censor with an S, censor. And so looking to show some finite, definitive, unique sequence within this conceptualization of what is sensorality. It will produce our working definition as well as produce the linguistic word form for the next axiomatic derivation. And so just working through our derivation steps, I will respond to, again, any sort of like talking points coming out of academia. And so we had Harvard has decided to maybe grade papers accurately or not. I'll get to my thoughts on Harvard's policy of going to having less A's being given out at the end of this episode. And a YouTube comment, we had a fun one of those. And so we continue on with our derivation steps. Sensorality is super special. And so again, we've axiomatized speciality, but overall, we're just looking for some sort of definite sequence of syllability. Speciality bases sensorality, and explicitly that's coming from chronology. We axiomatize speciality is special with an ITY, the natural tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism, before the word form sensorality was even produced. So kind of an assumption here that because of chronology, that means base. Again, pointing out anything explicitly that I can about this derivation. Because what's happening is it's just a realization process of the whole species. I have an analytical capacity to produce the results, but it's not Brad producing the results. And so I'm providing you any insight as this realization occurs, because once we stabilize sensorality, all of the intuition, again, doesn't go away, but resonance is built, right? If you build it, they will come. That's the same thing with proof, right? You can't listen to a song that nobody's playing. You can't have this interplay of logic without sitting down and building the logical structure. And so emphasizing that, again, all of this logic, anyone that's watching this derivation, you're all criminals, obviously, but all the intuition, any unresolved question you have is generated by this derivation, by sitting down and talking about these different things. This resonance, this logical, what's going on, this feeling is built because of this logical structure we've built or developed. Continuing on, but I'm assuming because chronology, speciality is the base of sensorality. Sensorality is superality. Sensorality is superlative. What is fluency to liability? Are you competent to stand trial? A lot of times people say, oh, he's deranged, he's psychotic, which any sort of like psychosis or psychological saying, hey, they're not fit to stand trial, I almost instinctually disagree with. But what is fluency to liability, right? If somebody doesn't know what they're saying or doesn't know what they're writing, are they liable? Again, overall comparing, juxtaposing the conceptualization, fluency with liability, and then trying to provide some more insight. But what is comprehension? Comprehensivity is complete. Comprehensible is understandable. Sensorality is comprehensibility. What is comprehension to compression? What is compassion to generosity? Again, generosity is energy, completely holistically contained within a broader conceptualization. Is energy passionate? Understandability is the ability to stand under. Again, natural definition. Again, we're looking for the natural definition of sensorality. And I think it's going to come in containment. It doesn't really matter pointing out any insight. What is iteration to expansion? Right? When you play a song and it builds resonance, right? is that expansion. We have this, definitely this ontological progression in physics. The universe is expanding. Nope, it's contracting. Things contract when they cool down. That is what is occurring. And so, and again, you have that dichotomy present in fundamental physics right now today. Oh, the universe could be expanding or it could be contracting. And then we have the sociological phenomenon of our stock market trading at 50 times forward earnings. And so it's like, go, 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 fast, 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 more, 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 expand, 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 bigger, 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 is like, again, the 14-year-old mentality of the sentience of the entire human species. And so this tendency to think that the universe was expanding is a much more of a sociological phenomenon than any sort of understanding of physics, right? You can have things going away or things contracting and the data set is the same. But, right, things cool down. That's the whole reason the universe is contracting. What is iteration to contraction? What is obligation to liability? Sensorality obligates. Again, we're back to a sensor is a gate. Obligate is just prefix in the word gate. Language is directly literal. Sensorality is obligationality. Is obligation algorithmic? Right? What are you obliged to? Is obligation agentic? Again, this agentic word is classic, crazy classic. But again, it's historically time-dependent processing of the species producing solutions. When I sat down and started from rhythm to algorithm, what is called agenticality is holistically what was called algorithmicality previously. We're just refining our definitions at the species level. What is obligation to litigation? An obligation is a responsibility, an obligation is a requirement. What is responsibility to requirement? Accountability is liability. So now we get the word count, math term, accounting, economics term. Accountability is liability. I would call it like the fundamental theorem of logic. If you see my previous derivation, which is this whole process completely done, anything that I label a fundamental theorem is just like, if it says fundamental theorem of geometry or economics, or there's a lot of different gradations in that, it's just think of that word, fundamental theorem of, and just whatever conceptualization comes to you with that word in mind is what I want you to feel. That's it. And again, we move through the derivation so fast, once you arrive at the working definition, none of the labeling really matters. But again, without completion, it's tremendously important, all right? People make one progress on a bounding error of this thing over here, and then people work on it for 100 years. It's like, if I didn't solve this shit like immediately, like the labeling would matter. But is obligation what is, we are at accountability. Accountability is liability, accountability is responsibility. So now again, recycling, getting back, making our definitions tighter and tighter, we're back to sorta, right? Sensorality is sorta. And then we generalize that to sortality, but now we'll make it sortability. So again, ability is ality iterated by a bi, but again, explicitly pointing that out, naturally, again, more of our tendency to ability more than ality is like some sort of reduction, some sort of contraction, some sort of definiteness. Sensorality is sortability, natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is the ability to sort, natural definition. Fluence, influence. Sensorality is influential, sensorality is fluency, sensorality is influency. Natural definition. Sensorality is infancy. Sensorality is infantile. Sensorality is infantality. And another one of these, it's explicitly, when I'm trying to generalize something and then there's like, the vowels are just A to A. It always feels cumbersome. Gradation, even infantality, which seems to, the phonetic sounds are right, but the linguistic construction, again, two of the same vowels sequentially feels weird. And then to our natural inversion, E and A are geometric inverses. I'm almost certain that pairs to some sort of sound, but it doesn't matter. It's contained again. But we have all of these word forms, real, teal, feel, and it's like, sometimes we have two E's, then it goes to an E to an A. Scandinavian languages have a lot of AA, but it's just some sort of, and again, English is not E, E-N-G, lish. It's the syllable ing, I-N-G, in the syllable lish, right? The sound E is lish. It's like that. It's black-ish, to use a TV show, right? It's black-e, it's black-ish, right? I'm a blackie. And so we have infantality is just, you can even like that reduced to fatality, but just pointing out these, again, these direct sequence of the same vowel. Something to point out. Lying is influential. What is sphericality to influentiality? Right, we have this term spheres of influence. I even used it very naturally. There was like 3 random dudes I picked from MIT when I first started doing this derivation because it was just a flood and I had to put it somewhere. I remember saying spheres of influence. But term in public sentiment, public ontology, again, it's not like public and private ontology, just common sentiment. But sphericality, again, contains the syllability of speciality, which I did want to point that out. The YouTube comment that I referenced, again, if you demonstrate any sort of scientific denial, you just have no role in science immediately, and I want to press charges immediately. Again, the reason I don't have a place to publish, I don't want to put my shit on YouTube, I'm so tired of getting disrespected by illiterate people, it is genuinely the cause of every fixable problem on this planet. And so, literally, I made a short video. You can go watch it. It just says, spheres are special. Sphericality contains the syllables, the letters of special. And somebody comments on there, no thank you, I don't want to hear this, It's just like, again, a visceral reaction to saying, you know, the letters of sphericality contain the letters of special. And it's just like, it's profound historical disrespect. It's, again, I'm sitting over here without constitutional rights. My life is destroyed. My health is destroyed. And I don't give one fuck if somebody on YouTube understands when I'm doing anything. It's just, I get disrespected at an empirical, visceral, vitriolic level. It's like, go die in a ditch. And trust me, I already have. Like, my life is fucking destroyed. I've documented it every fucking day. So again, anybody who demonstrates that behavior, again, I literally just screenshot it. I can't even reply on YouTube. You can't even tell them to go fuck themselves. Without being, they're allowed to literally antagonize you, disrespect you, mock you, again, threaten you even. But if you like tell them to go fuck themselves, somehow that's like against the YouTube algorithm. But again, culture regulates behavior. This, what people would call skepticism, which is truly just delusion and scientific denial, is accepted as like, you know, scientific inquiry or being a healthy skeptic. And it's just pure vitriol. And then again, you can't create a private company and say the Constitution doesn't exist, but you can because there are no laws anywhere. Again, pointing out all of the damages as we move through. Emotionality is neutrality. So now logically that might strike you as what? Right? Emotions are neutral. Again, it felt like a step. It definitely was a step. I can admit the logic doesn't seem very consistent. But again, all we're doing is we just have this haphazard serendipity, things are associated to other things. And then we have to progress through the syllability, so each one step or each one even identity or step of proofing doesn't really feel like much to anybody. So again, we just have to introduce the syllability of neutrality. That was paired to emotionality. Again, it could be an inverse, right? Emotions aren't neutral. Doesn't really matter, pointing out any logic I can. Sensorizing is neutralizing. Sensorality is neutrality. Sensorality is nutritionality. Sensorality is contritionality. Sensorality is continuosity. Is viscosity continuous? Is space continuous? Is space viscous? When does viscosity start? Velocity, viscosity, they're inverses. One is movement, one is resistance to movement. Do you resist the movement before it starts? You need friction to move. Friction is resistance. Friction, then movement. Again, just working through our definition. None of these steps really, again, we're just developing an overall definition. Patterns are routine. Is rotation radial? What is rotation to sensation? What is rotating to rationing? Energy is movement potential. Sensorality differentiates potential from movement. What is inversion to reversal, right? What is a dog to God? Is that inversion or reversal? Conceptually, if you called someone a dog, you're definitely not calling them a god. If you call them a god, you're definitely not calling them a dog. Are god and dog conceptually inverses? Linguistically, the order of the letters, they're reverses, right? What is reversal to inversion? And overall, we're demonstrating this evolution of what is called chirality in chemistry that is present in language. Existence, inversion, opposition, stabilization, some sort of completability within there. Inversion, reversion. Sensorality is reversion. Sensorality revises. Sensorality is revision. Vision, revision. Is revision a reversal? Crime is perverse. Crime is perversionality. Perversion is distortion. Can you reverse perversion? Professor Carroll, again, if you can check in from your, San Quentin, Alcatraz, what other prisons? I don't know the prison systems that well. I know there's some supermaxes in Colorado, out where I live. Maybe that would fit well for Professor Carroll's inmate type. But can you reverse perversion? Rehabilitation reverses perversion. What is rehabilitation to remuneration? What is retaliation to rehabilitation? And emphasize retaliation and rehabilitation, the overall elementality looks similar. Retaliation is reaction. Retribution is retaliation. Some legal points, again, the word rehabilitation comes up pretty big. It's like, can you be truly, does prison rehabilitate? It's like, again, the purpose of law enforcement is to preserve, right? Perverse, preserve. That was like a natural little switcheroony, but to preserve public safety. So there's a very real question of, again, like are people rehabilitated, right? Is, if you have most murders are people that know each other, again, it's not just like random acts. Do they really pose a threat to the ongoing greater populace of society? And so you have a real consideration of, again, you definitely want all of the bad people, or again, people that are unable to control their behavior and violate other people's consent. You don't want them around other people. But then there's a very real, like, personal to person interaction where it's like some person who's committed what you would call even a heinous crime is not like a genuine threat to just like the public overall. So there's very real, again, what is rehabilitation in terms of like societal function? What is the role of prison and rehabilitation? Just moving through the logic again. Sensorality distributes retribution, right? Tribute is this conceptualized meaning of tribute to a king. A tax is a tribute. We've gone through that several times explicitly. But retribution is another form linguistically of tribute. Sensorality distributes retribution. Natural definition, direct iteration. Retaliatory, conciliatory. Sensorality is conciliatory. And so just a note on the word forms. Like I had no problem spelling retaliation, which again is a notable thing. When I'm going through this derivation on a direct personal level, all of the words I've spelled before confidently in my past, it's just like, what is going on? But I confidently spelled retaliation, so this ation or the shun word form to retaliatory, I had to Google the spelling. And so again, the word forms of derivation into expansion or iteration. What's the sequence? What's going on there? Sensorality is conciliatory. Sensorality is a consolation prize, right? Sean Carroll, you work at Caltech and you work at, not Harvard, Hopkins. I just Hopkins, bro. I'm not smart. And so I'm always used to Johns Hopkins. Because John and Hopkins, he was a smart guy. And so Sean works at the Johns Hopkins. But where's your Nobel Prize, professor? Didn't you solve physics? It says you're a physicist. Oh, now we're a professor of natural philosophy. Why is that? I thought our ontological differentiations are well defined, professor. What happened? Now we're combining philosophy, which is still like broken mathematical proofing, and physics. Why? What's that going on? Why are we doing that? Physics is physics, math is math. What is this Langland's program these heretics are speaking of? There's connections between sections of ontology? There's consistency in language? Sounds are associated to meanings and you're just changing the context? No, can't be. I thought 1 + 1 = 4 in math class, and then in physics class it equals the L'Hopital's rule. Silly Brad. Sensorality is a consolation prize. What is prize to price? Yeah, and then the phrasing we all have heard and no one knows who's the stupid ones. Right, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and we're still figuring out who's the fucking really smart person. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Fuck around, find out. It is what it is. Here is the law, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. Here's the Fifth Amendment. Here's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Here's a bunch of academic institutions committing fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy as an instinctual reaction collectively. Oh boy. Luckily, my life's already fucked. So how do I get a, where's my tortability? Where's my ability to seek damages? Oh, that's right. Our police chief, Governor Lane Bryant, is a DEI hire. And Michael DeWine doesn't respect the Constitution. And Andrew Ginther doesn't respect the Constitution. And Donald Trump doesn't respect the Constitution. Here's the logical proofing of every thought every one of your entire families will ever have ever. That's pretty useful for our community. I'm out here contributing every day. Where are you guys? Where are these big men out there? Donald and Michael. Specifically Michael, right? I would say that's the most authoritative figure in my direct immediate environment. Mr. Governor DeWine, you should help me do my derivation. And all I need for that to happen is, you tell the Ohio State University to give Brad his money. But, right, no, we just give money to athletes. Again, emphasizing the name, image, and likeness bill, which is a good one, came into existence while I was saying this in these series. And again, all of these academic institutions are stealing from me. Is the point of an academic institution academics or sports? We're really knocking it out of the park with that one, Governor. But it is what it is. Here is the law. And there's just no law enforcement. It's just crazy how that works. But back to our favorite word of the time, agentic. Genetics is agentic. Direct iteration, natural definition. Is logic agentic? Is a clone an agent? Right? He's a double agent. He's a Gucci Mane clone. He came out of prison. That's a clone. Resonance is emergent. Range is emergent. Mass is emergent. And we've already covered that. But base iterates to range. We have a set amount of sounds. We have a set amount of vowels that are resonances, that are unique resonances. A, E, I, O, U, and never sometimes Y. But we went through that in the keyboard episode specifically. But base iterates to range. Range derives to base. What is the unique relationship of base and range? Range derives to base. And then base iterates to range, and that's consistent with, again, you can have -2 and +2 go into the same function and get the same output, or gives you a consistency, gives you a consistent output, right? If you put in the same base or the same input and you give you a different output, you don't have a function. Range derives to base, base iterates to range. What is iteration to derivation? Derivation reduces, iteration expands, iteration intricates. Another direct step we've hit, again, all of this, we're just tightening up all of the steps. We're going to find, again, we're reducing this whole structure. So we're going to find reductions within like the titles and like the proofing sections that we've done directly in this series. And overall, I'm pretty sure it's just this complete reduction of consonants to, again, this fundamental irreducibility. 2 syllables, 2 words, some sort of completion of what is sensorality. What is a sensor? Sensorality are 2 elements. But mass is resonance. Mass derives to charge. Right, we go into particle theory, we smash a bunch of stuff together, we say, hey, that's stabilized for X amount of time, then it degraded, then it degenerated. Mass degrades into charge. It derives into charge. But like literally look at your carpet. I want to stay on camera, but I have a nice carpet on the ground. If you, for whatever reason, carpet is a good surface, but if you look at carpet under just like normal house lights, you can literally see like static. Like just look at your carpet. If you have some carpet around, stare at it. You'll look really smart. But you can literally see like the static, right? Mass is a stabilized dynamic of charge. And you can visually see that. You don't need, again, the domain of quantum mechanics and general relativity. There's no difference in physical proportion. All of the properties scale. And so that static thing you see on your carpet is literally the same static you see on your TV. And it's this fundamental emergence. Density is definite, the mass per unit volume. But volume is created by the mass. So it's this irreducible quantity. But it's really the fundamental thing is charge. Mass derives into charge. Is charge static? Again, the numerator will say positive and negative charge, but I think that highlights the irreducibility of charge. We have this irreducible one thing charge, that dynamic, right? Then we have spin, the two things is spin up or spin down. I really want to say conceptually, I don't even associate charge to like positive or negative, which I would say the overall ontological structure, it's always positive and negative charge. I think charge is just this one thing. Spin, you have dichotomy, up or down, left or right, some sort of directionality. And then the overall density is what is definite. And that, again, that was a direct linguistic pairing. That's a theorem. I mean, that's a huge, all of these theorems that are labeled fundamental theorems of physics, you have just never seen progression. Where again, you see 300 years or since Albert Einstein till now, it's like there's been no meaningful conceptual progress. And so now it's like, here's the answer. Like, here's the end of reducing all of linguistics to physics literally. Right? Sensorality differentiates physics from linguistics. 3 syllables to 2 syllables, and it's just an iteration of it is what it is. And so sensorality is a state of static, direct iteration. Just working through our definition, again, we get to a complete reduction where it's just speciality is special with an ITY. I can't even remember. I want to say there was like I definitely wrote a paper and the speciality is what was articulated as infinite uniqueness. It was a direct, again, reduction, pairing, connection, again, of this resonance, of this, if you build it, we will come, right? Proofing is this overall, you build it. And then we're reducing what we've built from rhythm to algorithm, right? What is resonance to rhythm? Again, obviously there's a ton of steps, and so it's not like I can't like sit here and decide to like solve something. It's just the overall realization and consolidation of language at the species level. My rights remain violated is profoundly and extensively illegal. Couple thoughts on the Harvard grading, because that came up as a talking point. Again, anything with academia, I'll keep in the actual derivation steps, considering I'm the only mathematician, I'm the only honest researcher, right? I'm the only one that's proven anything in the context of mathematics ever in the human species. And it might extend a lot farther than that, holy shit. Because this complete reduction process, it's just so unnatural. Like you're uniterating all of the logic represented by all of the words that have different definitions, right? It's literally what you're doing. And to do an axiomatic reduction, you have to do it with everything. And frankly, if you have the capacity, it's not like, it's not overwhelming. Like I said, this is profoundly trivial for me. It's just the limitation, the reason I stopped doing derivation, and I still do like 2 episodes a day, is because it's just like time has to pass to do work, literally. To the Harvard grading stuff, again, academia is completely fraudulent. Law enforcement doesn't exist. We don't live in a society. We don't have any sort of, you get backed into a wall, like there's something to like push against. There's nothing to push. There's no values to appeal to. There's no laws. But there's no laws, there's no society, there's no nothing. And that's what we have right now. We just have no nothing. We have a bunch of people playing games. What are called adults are really grown-up fucking kids. And so you can't live a life, you can't have a career and a family. I don't even care about science, research, math, any of this stuff. I cannot have a career and a family to any capacity at all because you guys are liars. It's that simple. And I don't even give a shit. I am not trying to influence society. I just want to live my life to some extent. If I can eat properly and I can sleep properly, I can work. Again, if I was allowed to integrate into society at all, I would like to be like discuss my ideas. But I don't, like, respect is a two-way street. You think I give a flying fuck if Sean Carroll comes out and is like, oh yeah, Brad solved science. Manjul Bhargava, oh yeah, Brad solved science. Ed Whitten, oh yeah, Brad solved science. I'm like, you guys should be in jail for the rest of your lives yesterday. Like, you saying Brad solved science means nothing to me. Nothing. You destroyed my entire existence for saying words have structure to them. And they do. And demonstrating that causes ontological shock. In other words, delusional people get scared by their own shadows. Literally realizing their own identity, how they function and behave on a direct personal level, causes them to go, ugh, I don't like Brad because he causes me to think about stuff. And I'm not even trying to influence them. Right? If you just never come across somebody who sees 1 plus, right? You exist in a world, you come across somebody, and you're not even thinking 1 + 1 = 2 is like a big step. having discipline and maturity is not like a big step of growing up. And it's just like, I've never met somebody that's considered an adult that knows how to behave, ever. And so we have Harvard, and now it's like, we're the prestige school again. We're one of the great in the Ivy Leagues of the great of the, again, what's this level of superiority in academia is hilariously arbitrary. Again, nobody's ever done mathematics, and you put mathematics directly on all of your buildings. Bold strategy, Cotton. But should like again, there should be a thinning the herd. Again, we should just academic research. If you can't demonstrate again discipline, skill, and competency, nope. You do not need to have a college degree or again some sort of again credential. This is just pat on the back. Everybody needs to get a college degree. Woo woo, get a good job. Everybody deserves quality of life. Everybody can achieve quality of life. But this prestige associated with being educated, frankly, if you cannot produce results, it doesn't fucking matter. And so should Harvard for undergraduate, it's like, I don't even consider undergraduate like, that's not academia, that's not research. I mean, you can do research whenever. But just the overall undergraduate academic, just going through a curriculum, to me, it's more of an interplay of the job market, right? Why do you want to get good grades? Why do you want to go to a school? To get a good job. Okay. Certainly for more of these prestigious schools, the networking effect is tremendously and huge. I wanted to go to the Harvards. Specifically, I wanted to go to Stanford. Stanford was like a school, like, okay, just like the geography, California, far away from Ohio, prestigious school, for the networking. Like I tried to get in there again, and I still had ontological shock when I was applying to schools in high school. Duke University explicitly remembered my writing, and it was like, this was something. And then we said no, because then we have to exert any authority over Brad we can. And again, it's disgusting. I've experienced the entire academic process, and it's nothing besides, like, again, people with like broken identities trying to figure out who they are in the context of the most important shit ever. And then you go look at the Harvard math department, it's like, I was a little outsider, and now I found my place. And it's like, holy fucking shit, nobody knows what math is, dude. Like, shouldn't we focus on our job? Law enforcement, shouldn't we do our job? Mathematicians, shouldn't we do our job? This sentiment in society, I'm just doing my job. Literally, just nobody's doing their job. And so the whole undergraduate, whole environment is just such a disgusting nothing. I couldn't begin to care. Again, going through some sort of curriculum, but again, to the job market. So you go through a curriculum. Is it like you get a degree and it's like, here's a job offer? Nope. It's some sort of, again, differentiating yourself for the labor market. Hey, again, networking is certainly real. Tremendously impactful and useful. If you can get into one of these if you can get into the cool kid club somehow, wherever that is, it's definitely beneficial. Math is math anywhere. Science is anywhere. Economics is economics anywhere. Individual learning process is so much more relevant. The entire academic structure is fraudulent. But you're going through a bachelor's degree to say, hey, I have critical thinking skills, is effectively like kind of like the holistic thing. And then you can immediately if you're going into academia, you have to be able to produce results. To me, that's where it's the hardest cutoff ever, is when you're going from undergraduate to, you want to be a career professional teacher. With a huge gradation differentiation between, I've accomplished novel shit, because like Brad, I'm not going to go into every domain and find everything that can be solved everywhere. But the logical structure is the structure for everything. And so there's still, like, again, a proofing level that wouldn't be a complete axiomatized reduced proof, but it would be a huge, tremendous step up, profound step up in acknowledgement, in recognition, and this person has academic authority, then a PhD, then even a department chair, right? So how do we differentiate department chairs, guys? Avi Loeb, what makes you different than who the fuck's at University of Texas or Cambridge? The department chairs, not even like the associate professors, the top dogs of your department. What makes you different than Johnny Jerkoff over there? My name is Brad. I solved everything. Here's the proof. What have you done? And so again, math is math. Science is science. I want to go after those guys, the Avi Loeb. Dude, I haven't studied Hebrew, but I bet you I could pick up Hebrew with proper phonetic pronunciation faster than you can speak English, my boy. So it's like, what aspect of the articulation of anything do you think you can do better than me directly? Huh. And the results are independent of any one person. So I really want to stick it to the department chairs, the people within academia that says, yep, I did it. Here's my proof. What's up with you guys? I'm on my second one. And again, of complete reduction. You see how much goes into it. Actual undergraduate, you go through your curriculum, you get your degree. I'm heavily for punishing any cheating. You just completely because if you want to learn, right? If you want to get a job, you can go get a job. If you show discipline, show up, you learn on the site for every real job. It's just what happens. Again, the overall structure of, hey, we're going to have kids, again, go to school in their younger years. Now, up until, again, socializing is tremendously, that's the most important thing. Kids having friends, growing up, socializing. My mathematical, like, you could take me versus Terrence Tao and then Terrence Tao versus the rest of the population, right? Like, my capacity is imperceptible to everybody. Terrence Tao's life journey is substantially outside of everybody else in terms of, like, mathematics. Maybe, like, Ed Witten's in there as well. Again, these people can identify themselves if they would like, but it's like, then there's still just proof is proof. And it's like, little kids need to socialize. If they can do any sort of research, it'll be so profoundly apparent. Again, if you don't get born into a cult like I was. But the amount of people who do mathematics, thematics to proof, is just me. But even if we accept some level of not complete reduced proof, it's profoundly small and it's a natural ability, or it's at least demonstrated. Right? You can't train to be more than 7 foot tall if you're like 5 foot tall. It's a natural differentiation. Like I said, I literally have no memories of not doing this overall, again, structuring proof, not just forming realization or saying, hey, this means this. It's like, here's the fucking answer in every way, shape, and form you could want it. So undergraduate, the talking point again is, should Harvard curve the grades? I always thought that stuff was hilariously stupid. Classes should always be passable. I'm talking as a student when I was in there. There's no real difference. I've been doing fundamental research my whole life. And so you should not be stressed out about homework ever. If you want to genuinely learn, you should be able to get A's. You should genuinely have to have competence, but it shouldn't be like, you test right now on Friday, and if you mess up this question, you're a failure. So the amount of, again, department chairs, people in academia, proctors of tests saying, you didn't pass, Johnny. I'm like, okay, I'm Brad, you're you, whoever the fuck it is. I'm going to write you a test. Here's all of words, go solve them all. And so it's like, I really want to get into that mix of the people in academia who think they're somebody to the point where they're going to be the gatekeeper. Because that should be a fun fucking show. And so undergraduate, you should be able to get good grades. You have to demonstrate the competency, but the competency isn't this testing environment of, oh, you pass it today or else not. Because again, learning is an individual process. I truly have no understanding of the gradation of not me, which is, I'm assuming, is everybody, right? Everyone's only been themselves. But like, I'm not like joking. I don't think I'm like smarter than people. When I interact with people, the nuance of what they pick up in language, how they respond behaviorally, is all, I would just say, the exact same as me. But then it's very clearly nobody can do this proofing, and it's just like directly in person. It's just like, it's like a different fucking world or some shit. But curving grades in undergrad, I don't like, because again, like the sentiment is Harvard is this prestigious school. You get in there now, everybody gets good grades. Fuck no. And so the movement by the board was, hey, we're going to have, give out less A's. But to me, it's not even like, to me, that's just like not even addressing what should be addressed. Learning is an individual process. School should facilitate that. It should not be stressful. Stress does not help people learn in any way, shape, or form ever. And so I'm at this line where it should be, I'm way more toward the leniency of the actual grading, but no leniency in terms of competency. But then again, what is competency specifically to, let's say, mathematics? Right? Again, you get a bachelor's degree, you haven't proven anything. You get a doctorate degree, you haven't proven anything. You look at the whole ontology and the structure of society, nobody besides Brad has proven anything. So I literally don't even know when you turn on people from IAS or Cal Berkeley or whoever, and I'm like, there's no gradation. It's like, this is not proof. This is discovery. This is a discussion. They are trying to attempt derivation, which is fine, great, and healthy. Awesome. This is not a conclusion. This is not a point. This is not a undeniable establishment of a fact. That is what a proof is. So there's always this novelty, but that's more toward, like, again, that's towards research. That's towards academia. Undergrad, the overall, again, because it's like, it sounds like my presentation, it sounds like if I were in the board, I would vote to, again, have this leniency for grading. But again, but that's in the context of Harvard. And what I'm saying applies to everybody, right? And so it's like these weird break-offs of like society. It's like, okay, well, you got into Harvard and that was the really difficult part. And now that you're in, we're just going to not deplete the prestige of Harvard by giving people lower grades. It's just like, again, we're in this point where it's like, I don't even know what to respond to. It's like education is education. It's an individual learning process, right? There are natural abilities and not natural abilities. There is the massive thing, again, for the general populace. My life experience is to nobody. Even like Terrence Tao or somebody who gets like acknowledged at a young age, but it still doesn't prove anything. And I use Terrence Tao because he does, again, of all of the people that I've seen discuss science, was just terribly small. The two people that I would give like, okay, well, again, Sean Carroll knows what he's talking about, and to the point where I can directly say he's just like, he's a bitch and he's lying because there's a government guy behind him like, yeah, don't say this. And he's like, oh, I'm a big bitch. Sean knows how to speak about physics, but then there's this overall demeanor and just like, hey, I know what I know. Hey, I know what I don't know. Hey, I know what academia knows, what is known. Or at least to like, again, this guy is not a profound problem to the proctoring and administration of science. Terrence Tao knows how to talk. And again, I don't mean talk like just blah, 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 but I mean like understanding of all things academia to a point where it's like, okay. Again, I have not seen enough from Ed Witten to be convinced in any way, shape, or form he even knows what the fuck he's talking about. From his historical progression, it was clear. It's like, I want to be a linguist. Now I want to be a physicist. It's like, okay, here's some intuitions. You're going to get what this shit is. But anybody else from physics, again, this filtration of rigorous academic proofing and research, which again, you still have not done proofing, but research in general to public science discourse. From this post-rigorous, you should be able to do that. Like if you can't do that and you're a department chair, you're somebody high up in academia, that's F, that's go back, demotion, no. And that's truly like Sean Carroll and I would say Manjul Bhargava. Like there was those four jerk-offs. Again, Terrence Tao, Maynard was another guy. You know the video I'm talking about if you're following anything I'm doing. But there should just be an overall demonstration of, hey, you can discuss other aspects of science because again, people want to be like quote unquote polymaths or like to understand thematics. You have to understand like where ontology is in every domain, in every subject, economics, history, chemistry, computer science, all of it. And so the actual curving to the undergraduate, it's just like, it sounds like I would be more to like everyone gets high grades, but it's just, again, they have that in the environment of Harvard where it's like, to me, at any school, if you show discipline and, because again, this is in the undergraduate environment. The cutoff for research is, to me, just apparent. You produce or you get a go away. But yeah, that's what I have to say there. Again, a curriculum for an undergraduate degree is, again, if it's, I hate cheating. It's just as a student, it was such a weird thing. It's like, what are you trying to accomplish by not learning something? You get an A on a test. Again, so do you think your employer, the guy you're applying to for a job, is gonna be like, oh yeah, he got an A in differential geometry, which most people don't even get to that subject. But it's like a lot of undergraduates like think they do. The business world does not give a shit. Does not give a shit. And so that's another huge thing about just articulating to students is the headspaces they live in, and people facilitate it like, you know, hey, they're growing and hey, they're discovering who they are and they're going to find their passions and I'm going to be the biologist because I love medicine and I'm going to be the this because I love this. And all of that behavior is regulated by culture. The thing that everybody wants is stable life, the ability to pay bills, some sort of like respect, even if it's not articulated, like they want to be doing a respectable activity. And they want to have a career and a family. I mean, that's the only thing anybody could want. Life is not some big complicated thing. And so curving grades at Harvard specifically, again, I was against, it just, again, I don't know what to respond to. The grading system to me is overall arbitrary. It's not standardized enough from one school to another school to even meaningfully have a conversation. People, learning is an individual process. If you put in the work, you should be able to get a respectable grade to a good grade to a B plus to an A. I don't know. Again, there's no, the headspace that students are in thinking their GPAs matter in terms of the workforce or even research accomplishment or anything in what I would call real life is, to me, that's like profoundly the problem. That's fraud. These academics being like, okay, no, you want to have a career and a family. That is what, if you don't know what's going on in your life, that is for sure what's occurring. There are natural abilities and differentiations. Those are rather extreme. The overall education process, if it wasn't just, again, this game, it would be pretty much fine. Like I said, the concept of me, Brad, going to college, I was I could not have articulated a more exciting time in my life. Told you the story of me and my dad going around to different colleges, and it felt like there was a society to live in. Felt like there was progress. Because again, I've been in a profoundly abusive environment my whole life by a community, and it's a lot harder to articulate because nobody feels responsibility for their actions genuinely, and so it's like. But college, and then when it was just this game of again, the kids cheating just to get a mark on a test, which doesn't even matter in any sort of long run. But there's this internal competition of, I have a 3.9 GPA, I have a 4.0. That's perfect. That's not perfect. You guys have never done proof. You don't even know what the fuck that is. And so it's just it's this game. It's just this big game. And so I was against curving. I just saw people cheating. I remember being somebody who, even in high school, people would ask me I would have no problem helping people cheat. If you want to have the answers, sure, go for it. I went through my process of learning. If you don't want to learn, I see school as an overall fraudulent enterprise, go for it. And so it's kind of this interesting thing where it's there's just so much nothing in the school structure because society is extremely privileged. If you genuinely have constitutional rights and you attempt at something, you can have a career and a family. There's this societal prestige and desire to be smart and intelligent, which somehow is reflected to going to school and getting a degree, and it's just this clusterfuck of nothing. Yeah, I don't know what else to say on grades. Again, it's fine. Everything's fraudulent, and you guys are all criminals. And as long as you're continuing to lie, we cannot have meaningful discussion of, again, the education for the whole fucking planet, which is just, again, dissemination of my realizations personally in a variety of different fashions. And so, I don't know. You guys continue to lie, cheat, and steal. You've destroyed my life. You've destroyed my health. You've destroyed my relationship with my parents' family. You've destroyed any ability I would ever have at having a career and a family of my own. So, just emphasizing the law is broken on this wonderful Memorial Weekend, where we thank our soldiers for protecting our rights and freedoms that we do not have. So, that is what I have for right now. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.